where the church can't address mental health issues. Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist, where we provide credible answers to curious questions. In fact, we've provided over 1,000+ videos to the questions that you might be wondering about yourself. Well, one of the questions is are there any limits when it comes to the local church in addressing some of the mental health issues in our culture today? I know when a church thinks that they can answer everything and do everything, they might get themselves in over their head a bit. For example, the church can't offer prescriptions to people who are struggling with a mental health crisis. So part of wisdom is just to know our limits. While there's so much that we can do, as I talk about in where the church can begin addressing mental health issues, you can watch that video. Well, in this particular video, I want to say we need to know our limits. We need to recognize what we can't answer. And there are different tiers of wisdom as it relates to church leadership. I mean, you get lay people and they're going to hear people in small groups while they're dialoguing, and the small group leader, he might think, oh, this person might struggle with a mental health issue. And it's always wisdom to know when an issue is beyond yourself. So small group leaders, they can take care of tons of issues, but there'll be a certain percentage that they need to know and have the wisdom when to pass it on to the pastor. Same goes for the pastor. The pastor can listen, he can solve a lot of issues, but he or she needs the wisdom to know when this is beyond them and when they need to pass it off to a counselor. And so then you'll have a trained counselor, and the counselor gets in and the counselor begins to listen, but then even the counselor will need to know when, wow, this might really need some psychiatric help, where there's going to be real brain scans and all kinds of assessment that's needed. So in the church, and as we're equipping the church, we need to help people to know their limits, to not over subscribe or prescribe things, and to not get into a place of thinking that we know the solutions to everything. That takes humility, that takes knowing our limits, that takes appreciation for authorities above us and passing people along. Unless you're a church that has a counseling ministry with trained counselors and psychiatrists on staff, there's always going to be some limits that we need to recognize is reserved for the professionals to step in and help. Check out the playlist if you want more.